Hello everyone, I'm Ling. In this video, I would like to share with you guys a policy that I think affects teachers in Shanghai a lot. And this policy is called Teacher Rotation Policy. Now, firstly, I'd like to share with you guys what teacher rotation policy is. In 2021, Shanghai government issued a series of policies on strengthening the management system for primary and secondary school teachers. And the teacher rotation policy was one of them. This policy obligates principals, vice principals, and grade teachers from top public schools to be assigned to administrative or teaching positions at lesser known schools for a temporary period of time, so as to improve the overall teaching quality of the city's public schools. Before talking about my opinions on its weaknesses and strengths, I would like to analyze this policy from historical and current perspectives. I actually have three topics in my mind. Number one is the one-child policy in China. So the China's population trends have over the years been shaped by the one-child policy, which was introduced in 1979 to slow population growth. And so if you look into the Chinese family today, you will find a very interesting situation. In most families, there is usually only one child in that family, which will lead to the very high expectations from parents to that only one child. Therefore, parents usually will try their best to provide as much as they can for children's education. So why students' education is so important in China's family? That's the second topic I would like to talk about. That is the knowledge is power philosophy in Chinese people's mind. We always believe that if we want to change our social status, Chinese always believe that the only way is to go to a good university. I think that could be also the same case in other parts of the world, but that is especially emphasized. That idea is especially emphasized in Asian or Chinese families. Therefore, nobody wants their children or their child to be left behind in the battle of the best education. And in order to choose the best education or the best school for their child, parents have to rely on the third thing, or we say the third policy in China, which is called school district houses policy. So the concept of school district houses exists in China because different schools have different education resources, and the children can only enroll in the one that is nearest to where they live. From 1980s, more and more people are moving from rural to urban areas in search of employment opportunities and higher wages. And these population shifts have contributed to overcrowded classrooms in urban schools. Everyone wants to send their children to good schools with skilled teachers and better facilities, which also made other schools struggle to recruit enough students. And in order to solve this problem or strike these imbalances, in 2014, the Chinese government introduced the school district system, which allows students to attend neighboring schools without passing examinations. And you can attend the school as long as you have property, or we say 户口, which means the household registration permits in the neighborhood. And this policy aims to allocate student resources more equally. And therefore, the market for school district properties has boomed since 2010. The school district house fever has led to skyrocketing real estate prices in Shanghai and and also other big cities, elite school district. For example, a shabby about 100 square feet apartment within the school district of a top school in Shanghai was asking for a total price of about 3 million yuan. It's like 400, like close to 500,000 US dollar. So it's really scary. So that's why in 2021, Shanghai government issued a series of the policies mentioned at the very beginning of this video, including the teacher rotation policy, just in order to improve the overall teaching quality of the public schools. And in the long run, the government expects there will be no good school district or bad school district. And that's the major goal. That's the long-term goal. So now I would like to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of these policy. And it's obvious that by implementing this policy, we can provide some great and new ideas and inspirations for both rotated teachers and also the teachers from the receiving schools. So the receiving schools. And also, those new teachers or teachers from other schools will usually have some interesting and significant findings of the students. Usually they have a new angle to observe the students, and this is something very beneficial for the development of students. And in the long run, I still believe that this policy will help create a fairer learning environment or education to some extent. And I also think this policy has its limits or weaknesses. Firstly, though new ideas, inspirations will be given or offered to those teachers, I still think there is an efficient mutual engagement between rotated teachers and teachers in the receiving schools. As a matter of fact, those rotated teachers will just stay in those schools for a short period of time. So they won't take it as a permanent job, or we say they won't take it as take much responsibility when they are doing their rotation job. Therefore, they will be less engaged, and there will be limited collaboration between the rotated teachers and also the full-time teachers in the receiving schools. Secondly, in my opinion, great teachers may not necessarily be the right teachers for students, though those great teachers from top schools will have great ideas and also great experience to share with the students and also teachers from the receiving schools. I still think the teachers who have been with the students for a longer time know the students better, therefore will help the students better. So there is risk for this policy. It won't 100% produce a better quality of teaching, and therefore switch a less known schools to a better school. Lastly, I'd like to share some effects of this policy. I myself is a teacher working in a private school, so I have to say I do not have first-hand evidence or experience to share with you guys, but I checked online and also asked around, and here's what I found from other people and who are working in public schools. Now, firstly, they believe that rotation policy does create a culture of peer learning among new and experienced teachers in these teaching community. And so that most of them agree the overall teaching quality does improve a little bit or to some extent. And secondly, this policy also affect teachers' decision on choosing which school they'd like to work for, public school or private school. Teachers who agree with this policy would love to work for public schools and would like to look for jobs in public schools. And teachers who don't agree with this policy usually will just choose to work for private schools. Lastly, I think this policy also affects parents' confidence in public school and also the public school system. I actually talked to some parents who decided to transfer their kids from public school to international schools, and most of them told me that because of this policy, they are actually not sure about what will happen in the future, and they do not want to take a risk for their children or for their child. So they decided to go to international schools, which everything is more predictable and they can predict what will happen to their children. And also there are also some parents who decided to transfer from private school or international schools to public school because they feel like with this policy, the public schools will be in a better situation. So yes, there is also some effect among parents. And thank you for watching this video, and I hope it's helpful. Thank you.